Hey friends, and welcome back to a new video. As you guys can see, today we're doing another mukbang. This is my boyfriend, Johannes.
Hello.
Today we thought we'd talk about plant-based diets or plant-based eating. And of course, according to the topic, we're going to have some lunch. I made some vegan pasta salad. This is with a sweet mustard dressing with cherry tomatoes, dried tomatoes, cucumbers, red onions. Yeah, this is really delicious. I'm excited to eat. Okay, so maybe before we start, I feel like we should do a quick disclaimer. We are not doctors or health experts or nutritionists. We're not nutritionists. We just want to kind of share our experience and maybe some tips we feel like we've learned along the way on vegan dieting, how to start eating vegan if you're interested in that. Yeah, so just to disclaim that. Maybe I feel like we should start with how we came to being vegan. Well, when we met, we weren't vegan.
Yeah, I actually was vegetarian for a while when I was a kid.
What? Wait.
Das habe ich schon mal erzählt.
I forgot.
Yeah, so I actually was vegetarian for a while when I was a kid. I think it was around elementary school. And I went on a trip to Greece with my mom, and there was like a very nice beach, and I went snorkeling there every day, and I always was playing with the fish there, and I built like small houses out of stones under the water and watched the fish swim through them, and really enjoyed a lot like interacting with the fish. And then in the evening we went to a seafood restaurant and ordered like a fish platter, and there were like whole fishes with not just the fillet, like the entire fish with the eyes and everything. And I was like, oh no, those are like my little friends, the fish in the sea, and it made me so sad. And so I decided I don't want to eat any animals anymore. And it lasted maybe like half a year or so, and then I started forgetting about the fish incident and started to enjoy the taste of chicken nuggets too much, so that I couldn't keep it up. And now, like a few years ago, when I was in college, we were watching a movie about the effects of animal agriculture on the environment.
Was that how it started? I don't remember.
That was how it started, yeah.
Oh.
And then like it all came back, and I decided I wanted to go back to eating not just vegetarian, but to eating vegan. And I pretty much started overnight to go completely vegan. I think it was very difficult for you because you didn't want to do that. But I'm usually someone who goes all in or nothing, and so that's just how I do things. That's probably not the best way for everybody, and it also didn't last that long. It was also maybe like a year or so, and then it started getting. I didn't start to eat meat normally as before, but I was less strict than before, and then I started studying more about health, and so got a little bit more into it again because I learned about the negative health effects that some animal products have on your body, and so I went back to a more strict vegan diet. And now we're not completely vegan, but we eat vegan most of the time, and when we do eat meat, we make sure that it's organic and that it's like high quality meat that from good sources. Yeah.
Okay, that's really detailed. I don't know what to add to that. Maybe I can share my side of the story. Yeah, I definitely remember. I don't remember it being because we watched that documentary, but I remember you telling me I want to be vegan now or eat vegan. And I didn't take that so well. So I would say I'm someone that has a hard time dealing with change with it, which is kind of ironic because I moved around the world as a child. But since I'm the one who cooks kind of for both of us most of the time, because I enjoy it so much, I felt like because you're vegan, I now have to be kind of vegan. And I remember we did have kind of like an argument. I don't remember quite how it went, but I don't know. I did kind of feel like this pressure to be vegan, or I don't remember. Do you remember, or did you become vegan alone first?
Yeah, I said I want to be vegan, and then I told you that it's fine with me if you aren't vegan, but I think you didn't like that I'm eating vegan, so you have to cook 2 different meals, or we eat separately. And
I don't remember. Did you then make your own food, or? Well, the thing is, I like preparing food for people. Is kind of like my way that I show that I care about them. So it wasn't like I felt like I had to still cook vegan for you. I wanted to cook for you, I guess, but I felt like I had to switch to vegan. I don't know, I just had a really hard time, I remember. And I did also then join you in eating vegan, but I felt like it was kind of half-hearted. I did do a lot of research, and I was also convinced that it was kind of like a healthier choice. But I remember having really bad cravings for meat and cheese, and I would sometimes sneak out of the house to the bakery and buy, like, in Germany we have these Käsestangen, which is like bread with melted cheese on top. I remember sneaking out and buying those and eating those and then sneaking back in. Yeah, so to be honest, I did have a hard time in the beginning. I feel like a big part of it was because we went all in. I feel like for me personally, it would have been easier on me if it was gradually, like starting with eating vegan twice a week, and then kind of easing your way in. And also I felt like it was hard because I didn't know what to cook. I felt like, I don't know, even though there's so many vegan recipes out there, I was really overwhelmed and didn't know how to handle it. Yeah, and then, as you already said, we kind of graduated over into now not being or eating 100% vegan, but most of the time. And for example, we make an exception when we go traveling. We really feel like food is part of the culture, and when we travel, we really want to experience the culture, and we pick a few kind of like traditional local foods that we really want to try, and if that's not vegan, that's fine. We're really there to just experience the culture. But when we come back, we often do feel like we need this vegan cleanse, and then we for a longer period of time. Yeah, so that was kind of our story, our history with veganism. Maybe, I don't know, would you say through our experience, what kind of tips would you give for people who want to be vegan or are interested in having a vegan diet?
You mean how to get started?
Yeah.
I would say that, first of all, it's very important that you know why you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So I think many people just do it for the lifestyle or because like they want to be different or something, but I think in the long run that's not enough, and you really need a strong reason, whether it's your health, the environment, or ethical reasons. And if you remind yourself of those reasons often enough, then I think it's not that hard to stick with it if you're really convinced of them. Mm-hmm. And I think the next thing is that it can be difficult to find food in public places that's affordable, because most fast food, or even in the cafeteria of our college, they rarely have good vegan options. So I think it's important that you really research, get some good recipes, also some things that you can pack for lunch. like vegan sandwiches or pasta salads that you can take with you for work or college, so that you don't get into situations where it's difficult to get anything, so you just get the cheese sandwich because it's the only thing you get.
I would also definitely say research. But also with the research, you kind of have to be careful because there's a lot of wrong information out there, especially in the internet. And I don't know if you agree, but I feel like we've definitely also seen documentaries that are not completely wrong, but there are some facts where I kind of dug deeper and I felt like the documentary over-exaggerated in a few aspects. So I really encourage you to take the time to not only watch the documentaries, but often they will link the studies that they're quoting. And so I encourage you to go and read that study, or at least just the summary of that research paper or study. And yes, also with recipes, I completely understand that can be super overwhelming and difficult, and you feel very overwhelmed in the sense of what do I cook. So definitely research that a lot too. Also, I feel like, or at least for me, something that helped was to understand that there is no kind of black or white, like you're either completely vegan or you're not. You can really customize it to how it suits you. For example, if you only want to be or eat vegan 3 times a week, that's totally fine as well. Or if you want to be vegan most of the time, but then sometimes have cheese or meat, or you want to be vegan except for egg or except for honey, you can totally customize it. Yeah, so it's not really a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. I feel like that is something that is really helpful and important. Also, I feel like, back to the research point, don't just take our word for it. Do more research. Read different kinds of books from different kinds of people. Maybe talk to your doctor. Maybe for some reason being vegan isn't a super good option for you. For example, I felt like when I was completely vegan all the time, I had some minor health issues. I'm not sure if that is linked to being vegan. Maybe it wasn't, but I felt that was kind of resolved when we had meat sometimes. So really tailor it kind of to your needs and don't let others tell you what to do or what you can't do.
I think also in respect to talking with a doctor, I think there's like a lot of controversy. Like there's doctors that are convinced that the vegan diet is the most healthy thing you can eat for everybody, and then there's doctors who say that vegan diet is the worst thing you can do. So there's not really an agreed upon right or wrong. I think the scientific knowledge that we have so far says that a vegan diet is pretty healthy, at least that plant-based food is very healthy. So I would say you definitely should look at different viewpoints and not just ask your doctor what should I do, because either he's convinced of one or the other, or he doesn't care at all, and he might not necessarily be the most qualified person to talk about it, because many doctors don't have that good training when it comes to nutrition. So I think it might be better to talk to multiple people, read multiple studies from different viewpoints, so that you can really build your own opinion and know both sides of the argument. Don't just trust one person and base your whole lifestyle on it.
I agree. Also, coming back to when you said that plant-based eating is healthy, I think we should clarify that just because it's vegan, it's not necessarily healthy. Like you could eat white pasta and tomato sauce all day, every day, and that wouldn't be super healthy.
That's actually not that bad.
It's not that bad, but I mean, what I mean is, just because it's vegan, it's not automatically healthy.
I totally agree. I just disagree with your point on white pasta, because white pasta is not the best carb you can eat, but it's way better than most because it has a pretty low glycemic index. Even though it's white, I think it has to do with the structure or how it's processed. So white pasta is actually not that bad, but if you eat a lot of French fries and drink sugary soft drinks, that's pretty much the worst thing you can eat, and it's vegan. So vegan doesn't automatically equal healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the other way around, just because you're not vegan doesn't mean you're not healthy. Like if you eat
really depends.
If you eat a balanced diet with mostly plant-based food, but you eat like some salmon or organic wild range meat, that can also be very healthy if you limit the meat.
Maybe we can touch upon some preconceptions that people might have about vegan diets. For example, I think a common one is that I heard some people say that they would like to be vegan, but they don't feel like they could afford it because being vegan means that it's more expensive.
Yeah, I think that's not true at all. It can be true, because especially if you rely heavily upon like meat and dairy substitutes, like soy milk and
vegan cheese,
vegan sausage, those things are pretty expensive and a lot more expensive than the non-vegan alternative. But if you eat like real whole foods that are vegan, it's not expensive at all. Like you can buy a big bag of rice, a big bag of lentils, and it only costs a couple of cents, and it's a very nutritious meal. And also
rice and lentils.
Yeah, if you add some well, rice and lentils are actually very nutritious. They have a lot of minerals, a lot of vitamins, a lot of protein, and of course you also need more vegetables and fruits and stuff like that to get all the vitamins and everything you need. But if you stick to whole foods like lentils, beans, veggies, fruits, that's actually not that expensive. What's expensive are like the processed foods, the processed meat substitutes, and also the vegan fast food you can buy on the street. Like they also really are expensive. So, but if you stick to real natural food and cook your own food and take your own food to work, it's really not that expensive.
Yeah, I agree. I think then some people would find it difficult to cook if they don't use those substitutes. For example, how do I cook a vegan lasagna if I can't use vegan cheese? I feel like, for example, we don't really eat those substitutes. For one, because they're so expensive, and also because if you actually look at the ingredients, they're often not too great. So I feel like what can be helpful in those things is to look for vegan recipes that don't use those kind of substitutes and don't use some weird fancy ingredient. And to be honest, those can be sometimes really difficult to find. A lot of them include a lot of soy products that are supposed to imitate meat. But for example, we have 2 cookbooks that are really great. They are in German though, unfortunately, but I can link them down below. That are really great. They focus on dishes that are traditionally already vegan. For example, in India, I feel like there are a lot of foods or curries that are vegan by nature. Also in other countries as well. You just really have to, as I said, do your research. It might be a little difficult in the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it's easier.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a good tip if you want to be vegan that you don't try to look for veganized versions of traditional meat or dairy based recipes, but you look for actual vegan recipes that have always been vegan, and those things are really healthy and the ingredients you need are very affordable.
Also, a place where you can find lots of vegan recipes that I really love is from Minimalist Baker. I can leave the website for that down below. I love her recipes, they're all really great. Also, I myself have a website where I have lots of vegan recipes that I of course love as well. So I'll put my website down below as well. Maybe something else people who don't really know much about veganism ask is, how do I make sure I still get all the nutrition I need since I'm cutting out dairy, cutting out meat. Dairy and meat do also have healthy nutritional value to them. For example, where do I get all my protein that I need, or how do I make sure I still have all the vitamins that I need and things like that?
I think for the most part it's not that difficult to get all the nutrients. One notable exception is vitamin B12. because vitamin B12 is mainly in meat and dairy. So if you don't eat that, it's really difficult to get enough of it. So we do take vitamin B12 supplements. Most vegans do, and I think it's the healthiest option. Like if you don't do it, you probably are not going to get enough vitamin B12. But really that's the only exception. Other than that, it's no problem to get all the nutrients you need from a vegan diet. Especially protein is not a problem, because beans and lentils have lots of protein, pasta has lots of protein, nuts and grains have lots of protein, and really it's not that difficult. Another thing, so omega-3 can also be a little bit difficult. There's a lot of omega-3 in nuts, so especially walnuts are very good, and also a lot of seeds are very good when it comes to omega-3. But they usually don't contain a lot of EPA and DHA, which are two omega-3 fatty acids that our body can produce by its own, but it's not...
Wait, can or can't?
Can. Like it can transform other omega-3 fatty acids into EPA and DHA, but it's not very effective at it. So if you eat a lot of walnuts and have a lot of omega-3, and the body tries to transform it into EPA and DHA, only like small percentage of it can actually be transformed. So it can be a good idea to also get an omega-3 supplement. I take fish oil because I'm not that strict, but if you want to be strictly vegan, there's also vegan alternatives that I think are made of algae. But they are pretty expensive, so that's why I'm still using the fish oil. If the algae oil would be cheaper, I would probably switch. But for now, I'm going to take the fish oil just to get all the omega-3 fatty acids that I need.
I feel like no matter whether you're a vegan or not, you should always pay attention to if you're getting all the right nutrients. For example, when I cook a meal or come up with a meal, I make sure that they have all the macro components. So I start with what kind of carbs do I want to use? Is it pasta? Is it rice? Is it maybe sweet potatoes? Things like that. Then I move on, make sure I have a portion of protein. So mostly for us it's beans, sometimes nuts, sometimes tofu. There is a lot of resources out there we can research good sources of protein for vegans. Then I also make sure to have mostly 2 portions of different kinds of veggies, one maybe dark green, so like green beans or spinach or broccoli, and then maybe another one like tomatoes or carrots. And that's kind of how I structure the meal. And I remember my mom, I think, always saying that the more colorful the meal or the more variety it has, the healthier it kind of is. In the sense that you should really eat a diverse range of foods.
So another point on getting enough protein as a vegan is there's also the option of drinking vegan protein shakes. And especially if you work out a lot and need more protein, and that's a great option, and they are not that expensive. I use a pea protein shake. It's just 100% pea protein without any additives, without sugar or anything else, so it doesn't taste that great, but it's pretty healthy and a great source of vegan protein.
Yeah, what I wanted to add to that is to make sure you check the ingredients list. Don't just buy any random vegan protein. A lot of times they do have a lot of additives and flavoring and things like that.
You can't just go into a drugstore and take the first vegan protein shakes. The cheap ones are usually based on soy protein, which is not that good either for your health or for the environment. And they also have a lot of artificial additives like sweeteners and aromas, and they're just overall not that good. So you should really do your research and get one with good ingredients. I think the easiest way is just to get pure pea protein without any additives, so you know that everything in there is actually good for you.
With the soy protein, because you said that isn't too great, isn't that a little controversial?
Might be, yeah.
I feel like tofu doesn't necessarily need to be bad. It is quite controversial.
Soy protein is not necessarily bad for you, but the body can't use it as good as other sources of protein. And so if you drink a shake with 30 grams of soy protein, the body can only use a small percentage of it if compared to other sources of protein that can be better processed by the body. I think rice protein and pea protein are among the best when it comes to vegan protein sources.
But also I read that Asians can kind of use soy protein better than Westerners can. It has something to do with how the gut bacteria of Asians is made up. Yeah, that is something that I read in this book about gut health, but don't quote me on that. So for all you Asians out there, we can have that soy milk. Okay, I feel like these are all the topics that we wanted to address. Maybe we can quickly sum up again our personal favorite tips for getting started on veganism. I can start. I feel like it's important to remember it's not black and white. It's not necessarily all or nothing. You can really customize being or eating vegan or eating plant-based to suit your needs. Listen to your body, do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people, and kind of make up your own mind about things. I think those are my top 2 tips. What are yours?
I think my favorite tips are first that you know why you're doing it, and that whenever it gets tough you can remember why you're in this, and that makes it a lot easier. And also I think it's a good tip to try to avoid substitute products and stick to real foods, like, because that's just a lot cheaper and a lot healthier. Yeah.
Also, if you need and want vegan recipes, as I said, I'll leave a list of things down below, so check out the description box. And you haven't even finished your meal. I think that is it for our video. I hope you guys liked it. I know it's a little bit more of a controversial topic, so be kind in the comments down below. And yeah, we really didn't want to offend anybody or kind of push an opinion on you. So yeah, hope you found this helpful. Hope you found this interesting, and give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful or interesting. And subscribe to my channel if you want to see more mukbang videos or a bunch of other videos and recipes that I make. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!
Bye!